Hello everybody. Let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to put a garden tour together that is as short as possible because after I finished it, put it together, I couldn't believe how long it was. So let's see if I can, no talking about tips or tricks, just the garden tour, what's going on in the middle of October. This is the front yard. I have got some squash growing. I'm working on my containers. I've got garlic chives and some sprouting broccoli over there. Celery's coming up and the containers are being slowly filled with all kinds of things from the garden, leaves, kitchen scraps, and everything. I am out of here. I'm going to see if I can do this really quick. This way you don't have to sit for an hour watching the other one. Okay, walking down here, the bricks have all different things. I've got some beans coming up in there. My walking onions, I've covered them with a basket because I've had a rabbit that sometimes nibbles on them. Green sorrel, more green sorrel. And these trash cans from the 99-cent store. Oh, I said no tips. They're really good. And you can bend them to the shape you want. Okay, my tubs are doing really good here. And the midnight snack tomatoes are doing really good. Planted that early in the year and they keep on going. This is my table where I grow my stevia, ginger, and turmeric. It's doing really well. Quite happy with the table. Now we're going into the main garden of mine. More walking onions, tomatoes. My dinosaur kale is growing really good. This one's about 3.5 years old now. I've got mint down there. This is basil that came up from seed. I also have papaya, which came up from my compost. I'll leave it for now. That's popolo. It's about 3.5, 4 foot tall. I've got lemon verbena back there. Let me see if I can go this way. Curly kale as well, also older. And let's swing over here. More green sorrel. Looks like my tomatillos are done. Celery, more popolo coming up in there. Hot peppers, very hot. I burned myself once. I almost thought I was going to have to go to the hospital. So you got to be careful. If you want to cut those up, put a plastic bag over your hand. That will work. Again, I said no tips. Okay, lemon verbena, mushroom plant, Russian red kale growing in there, peppers. I've got some peppers. This is sprouting broccoli here. Look at that. Still have some baby bells down there. I've got a red baby bell down there. And the celery has gone to seed. You can chop that up. I said I wasn't going to do that. You can chop it off and just stick it anywhere in the garden. Let the seeds naturally fall and come up with whatever, wherever you put it, it'll just come up on its own. All over the bottom here, we've got orange mint. Tomatoes growing here, really good. Look at that. Really interesting tomatoes. Okay, and then there's my purple sprouting broccoli that has never sprouted a purple broccoli yet. But the leaves are really good. Been making a green drink out of them, and it's really, really good. And you can use them for stir fry and eating and all different things. And there's one of my buckets I made. Brings a lot of birds to the garden. Birds are important because birds keep the bugs down. This is my sprouting broccoli field. There's 4 or 5 plants in there. I'm not even sure how many. And the heads keep producing. And we all love that. Kitty loves it. We eat it. We all love it. Let's see how quick I can do this. I'm already out of breath trying to do this quick. More tomatoes growing. Water fountains, very good for the birds. This, I believe, is a hybrid between collard and sprouting broccoli, which is doing really good. More sprouting broccoli, dazzling blue kale. I've got, what do we have in here? Walking onions. This is garlic chives. See the seeds? They reseed themselves. They'll reseed themselves everywhere. I've got oregano on the bottom. And we've got over there pepinos and more collard. Here I've got more sprouting broccoli. I think this one's actually a hybrid as well. I've got some Swiss chard tomatoes. What is that? Oh, sweet potatoes that came up in the compost. I left them. We'll see what happens. Let me swing over here. Now this is the field of spearmint, and we use that almost every day. I make mint tea. There's tomatoes. That's an older plant already. I keep staking it up. I'll probably clean it up and restake it and see how it goes. I've got papaya growing down there. Came up from my compost. Look at all the tomatoes down there. All right, let me keep going. Walking onions. And then there's a whole field back there of collard. That's amazing. I don't even barely water back there, and it's just growing and growing. Eggplant. Lots and lots of eggplant. There's 2 eggplant in here now. I had a little tiny eggplant on my deck. It was stunted. I stuck it in that pot there, threw compost, kitchen scraps in there, and that eggplant is as big as the other one now, full of eggplant. And yes, sometimes I don't pick them in time. They turn yellow and they're bitter. I wouldn't eat them yellow. All right, let me swing over here. I've got sage, which I've been putting in my new drink. We've got green beans growing, and this one was a zucchini hybrid, but it got deadheaded by the rabbit I've got in here, and the rabbit chewed the end off, and so the plant's probably not going to make a comeback and grow anymore. Garlic chives and Swiss chard and parsley growing back there. Okay, let me swing you back around. All right, tomatoes. This is that sun gold tomatoes. I've got some purple curly type kale back there. It's growing really tall. It's turning into a tree. I've got tree collard back there. More dazzling blue that is really, really big. Look at this tree collard. This thing is huge. It's almost 5 feet tall. And the leaves on it are massive. And I've been breaking pieces off. I use the word sprout a lot when I really mean root. So I'm going to try to root some. And then, of course, this is that tower I made. And it's 3 towers in there, and it's like a jungle. And it's growing all kinds of stuff. I've got another one of my purple sprouting broccoli. Another purple sprouting broccoli there. It's never sprouted any purple broccoli yet. Tomatoes growing. Look at the tomatoes. Let's see if you can see that. Full of tomatoes. Purple basil. The purple basil's beautiful. And then, of course, this is collard that was in a pot. Let me walk by. It broke the pot, and now it's in the ground. And look at this. It's literally a jungle of collard. Massive leaves on it. This is red Swiss chard. It's gone to seed. So the leaves are really small. They do that when they go on the seed. Papayas coming up everywhere in here. It's throwing fruit. Look at that. This is such a young tree. I think it came up early in the year, so it's less than a year old, and they just keep throwing flowers and little fruit. So we'll see what happens. This is my Moringa tree. A lot of the leaves have fallen off, probably because it's gone to seed. See the big pods? So it's lost the leaves. It's putting all its energy into the seed pods. And once the pods fall off, or we collect them, whatever, probably will start to grow leaves again. Let me back up. My strawberry tower over there. Some more compost containers. Remember, I compost in place. I do not turn. I do not move it unless I need it for somewhere else. Some squash coming up. Probably won't make it because we're already too late in the season, but the seeds came up in the compost bin. This is tomatoes. I am going to have tomatoes everywhere. Look at this. That's just a rabbit. He's waiting for me to leave so he can come in and eat collard. He sits under the collard and he eats collard. But anyways, the cucumbers are done that are in there. And so now it looks like it's got some radishes that are maybe going to seed, but there's some radish in there. And there is another squash plant. Might have gotten deadheaded by that rabbit that was here, so we'll have to see what happens. Okay, the celery, I didn't plant that. It came up from seed. Rosemary, this I did plant. Pulled it right out of the bin that I just passed with all the young papayas. And it worked really good. Pulled it out. I really didn't want to talk about any tips. Put that pot there, no bottom. Threw a bunch of kitchen scraps in the hole. Put the pot with no bottom. Filled it up with native soil and some wood chips. Stuck the tree in there, and it's doing really good. So I'm going to be moving a lot of them. The rabbit just left. Okay, papayas are doing really well. And we're still picking papayas. We've been constantly having papayas since they came up. And there's that one that didn't do well until we started composting in place. Okay, let me swing you around to the wall. Okay, on the wall, I've got another zucchini on the end there that is a true zucchini, not a hybrid. And because it's a true zucchini that doesn't vine like a pumpkin, it also got what I'm calling a deadheaded, where the rabbit ate the very tip, like the main growth, not the root, the main growth where it kind of unwinds and grows flowers. Ate the tip out of that, and I don't believe I'm going to get any more zucchini out of that for the year, and the leaves will eventually die back. That should be the end of the plant. Had it been a hybrid that vines really well, it would have just sent out a whole new vine, which has happened to a lot of my other hybrids, and then kept on growing. Okay, I've got a lot of tomatoes there, more moringa. Look at the moringa tree. It's got a lot of pods. This one kept most of its leaves. It's a smaller tree. Maybe it's warmer up against the cinder block wall there. I don't know. But it does have more leaves than the other one. My cucumbers, let's see, I just harvested the cucumber. That's still growing, so I don't know if I'll get any more cucumber plants. But the tomatoes, that's full of tomatoes. A lot of green tomatoes. We've been picking the red ones off. Red Swiss Chard, and then that's an eggplant. And I haven't done a whole lot, but I plan on doing more soon. Now let's go over to the truck bed. Now we're at the truck bed. Look at this. Gary put a hose bib in for me, so I now have a hose. I don't have to drag a hose. I've got my red Swiss chard that's growing. Look how red it is. And that's gone to seed. I've been collecting seed and throwing it around. And then, of course, I've got some red and green Swiss chard back there. It's kind of a mix. Could be a hybrid, could be a type, I don't know. Got something growing back here, some sort of squash plant. So I'm not sure exactly what type it is, probably a hybrid that I threw in there, so we'll see if I get anything. It's starting to cool down at night, and squash like it warmer. That's why it does really well in the summer. So we'll see what happens. There's a green Swiss chard. And again, here's the red. Look at the difference between the red and the green. Isn't that something? I like using them both. I'm making a fantastic green drink that's so light now. And I'm going to have to put that up. And then, of course, I've got my walking onions. And I've also got my garlic chives. Walking onions, you know how that is. Everybody should grow it. It produces babies. This one stopped walking already. So I don't see anything left on this. So all the walking ones are gone. And then, of course, your garlic chives, they just keep reseeding in themselves. And then I've got a couple on the bottom here. I threw cages on top. I haven't really used them, but they're here if I need them. That's, again, more red Swiss chard. And then there's the red and the green Swiss chard. So if it goes to seed, fine. If I need it, it's there. Got a pomegranate tree I planted here that I planted from seed. And see, there's the Swiss chard. And let's not forget the avocado tree that I've had comments on. I guess because there are people that are watching this avocado tree that it came up from my kitchen scraps in the truck bed. I will leave it. So if you were worried that I was going to pull it out, I will leave it. So that is it. Oh my gosh, that is a speed, what would you call that? That is a fast forward of my garden tour for mid-October. There's nothing in here, just literally a walkthrough. And if you don't want to watch the long one, you got the gist of what the long one's about, except on the long one, I do a lot of tips and tricks and things I do and talk about different things, and maybe I even answer some questions, but somehow it just gets too long. So with that, I think I'm done. I did a speed garden tour. Have a great day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye, everybody.